I think the capital...
For more than 10 years,
the majority of my clients have been Amazon.
Amazon employees made 𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗪's business boom.
The last year, there was a pretty big shift in people coming in.
They worked with 23 relocation clients last year, including some Amazon employees. 21 of them moved out of Seattle. Monday was the first day more than 2,300 Amazon workers were laid off. This week, Meta announced more than 300 of their own, and Reuters is reporting thousands more Amazon workers could be laid off, though not all in Seattle.
I am very nervous about what's happening. I think there's a lot of uncertainty.
The State Employment Security Department reports nearly 17,000 more people are unemployed this year versus the same time last, with more than 6,000 fewer jobs in the state.
Baristas are the heart and soul of this company, and they deserve better than empty promises and corporate union busting. That is why I am proud to stand with union baristas in their fight for a fair contract and for a union. That is why I am proud to join them on their picket line and proud to say loud and clear, I am not buying Starbucks and you should not either. And I would like to close with a message to Starbucks. This is your hometown and mine. Seattle's making some changes right now, and I urge you to do the right thing. Because in Seattle, when workers' rights are under attack, what do we do? When workers' rights are under attack, what do we do? Workers' rights are under attack, what do we do? Because this is your city. Thank you very much.
So today I'm also announcing my support for a millionaire's tax on the wealthiest in Washington state. So let me be crystal clear one more time. The millionaire's tax, which I hope will be adopted in this session, will not and cannot solve our short-term budget challenges. Two different conversations. As a result, my proposed budget does not rely on it, does not propose it. According to the Department of Revenue, the proceeds from a millionaire's tax won't come in until approximately 2029, and that's just to be clear, even if adopted in this upcoming legislative session. To make our tax system more fair, millionaires should contribute more towards our shared prosperity. To be clear, by millionaires, I mean people who make more than $1 million of income in a single year. In other words, it is not individuals whose net worth reaches that amount based on, for example, the value of their home. It's $1 million of income in a single year.
The third of these bills is the bill that we are gathered to discuss today. That is the 𝗨𝗧𝗛𝗡𝗠𝗜𝗨𝗠 Fund. This is a new dedicated account that will be guided by subject matter experts who will study the impact of federal austerity budgeting, and they will advise the state legislature on key investments that it must make to keep Washington healthy, whole, and well in the face of federal divestment by Washington, D.C. The 𝗨𝗧𝗛𝗡𝗠𝗜 Fund funds our future. It will generate $3 billion annually to support public programs. The Washington State Office of Financial Management has identified cash assistance programs, higher education, and healthcare as the areas most endangered by Trump's H.R. 1 budget. Housing is additionally at risk due to deep cuts to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The 𝗨𝗧𝗛𝗡𝗠𝗜 Fund protects these programs at a time of great financial uncertainty for the people of our state. Now, the revenue source at the heart of the 𝗨𝗧𝗛𝗡𝗠𝗜 Fund is a corporate payroll tax on annual wages above a $125,000 threshold. Only the largest 1% of Washington corporations will pay this payroll tax, but we are prepared for a fight to get it passed nonetheless.
The scariest time economically since the Great Recession. Layoffs hit struggling Seattle region. Well, we've got a lot going on here, and it's not necessarily good stuff. Jobs are down, firings are up. Downtown core has been absolutely obliterated from the commercial real estate standpoint. You've got pricing is absolutely astronomically high. You've got higher interest rates. Real estate market has been, it's been anemic. It's been anemic. And now you've got a Democrat socialist in office in Seattle as mayor. You've also got another state representative who's throwing out a statewide payroll tax. You've also got a governor who is saying yes to a millionaire's tax. Now, when a lot of this stuff came down in Seattle, Amazon basically just moved employees from Seattle to Bellevue. But now you've got big tech companies which are already on the verge of firing just thousands of people because of AI and changes, and also because they hired too many folks during the pandemic. We need lots of workers. Let's bring them on. They did. And now, we can replace that guy with AI. So they're going through that. Seattle is on the forefront of a recession. It is happening. And even if the business economics don't necessarily dictate a recession happening, our politicians are going to make it happen because they're literally pushing out business. They are pushing out business as fast and as hard as they can because they care more about some employee getting fired, a teacher getting fired, than they do with Amazon leaving, because they don't understand that when your business and your wealthy people leave, then the tax liability is passed on to your middle and lower classes. Socialists don't seem to get that. They don't. They just, no. Wealthy people won't leave. They're seeing it with Mamdani as well. It's going to do a 2% tax on people over $1 million of net worth. or $1 million of income a year. And he's like, they won't leave. They won't leave New York City. They'll leave. And they are leaving Seattle right now. And not just because of the job market, because it's become too expensive. You got crappy street conditions. You got leadership that is just literally head up, you know what. You've got shenanigans happening all day long in Seattle. And if you're looking at raising a family, Seattle ain't your spot. It is not your spot. You're going to go to somewhere that is affordable. You're going to go to somewhere that is well run. You're going to go to somewhere that invests in their business community. And that is not Washington State, and it is not Seattle. Scary, nervous, sad are all words used by experts, analysts, and realtors to describe recent rounds of layoffs at tech companies like Amazon and Meta, combined with reporting that more could be on the way. We've had terrible real estate markets. The appraisal industry has been devastated since July of 2022. That's kind of my number. And it's because interest rates went from 2.75% or 3% all the way up to 8% during the Biden administration, right? And they've come back down, but they're hovering around 6%, and it's not quite enough for people to want to refinance. It doesn't quite make sense. And all that normal refinance activity just isn't there because so many sellers and homeowners are just sitting on their 3% mortgages, and I can't really blame them. And now you've got tech companies that are doing some pretty major layoffs. Starting Monday, 2,303 Amazon employees have their final day with the company. Meta will lay off another 331. Last week, Reuters reported that 16,000 Amazon employees could lose their jobs. Boom. And that means another 2,600, roughly, if the numbers are the same as last October when they did their last big firing, another 2,600 unemployed workers would be in Seattle. So you've got all kinds of pressure on Seattle. None of it good. None of it good. You're in the pressure cooker right now, and you are watching Seattle bleed out not only jobs, but economic development, taxes, and you've got a socialist as mayor. We're going to find out how that works. Who ran on, I'm going to improve affordability in Seattle. You've constricted the supply of housing. You've constricted the supply of real estate available. Housing, even with these layoffs, the layoffs reflect the business community's attitude towards Seattle. Yeah, we're firing people in Seattle, or we're moving them to Bellevue, or we're moving out of state. You heard where the real estate agent is saying, 21 of our clients were moving out of the state or out of the Seattle region, because businesses are like, okay, you got a statewide payroll tax. You got a statewide millionaire tax. You've got a socialist mayor. You've got a bunch of nut jobs running around. You've got people, literally the mayor is stating, boycotts Starbucks, which is from Seattle. It's the most backwards nonsense shenanigans you've ever seen. Seattle is on the front end of a recession. It is happening as we are in it. Very nervous about what's happening, said 𝗪𝗏. I think there's a lot of uncertainty. We're competing globally, and we don't have an environment right now where I think the political community and the business community are working very well. Downtown has been a wreck for years. Mayor Harrell tried to put it back together. He did sweep, 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 sweep. Now we've stopped the sweeps. How's that going to go? Mamdani in New York City has stopped the sweeps. How's that going to go? Well, last weekend, 11 homeless people died in New York City because it was real cold, right? You sweep those people, maybe they go into shelter. This is kind of the scariest time economically for the Seattle region since the Great Recession in 2009. We've just become accustomed to growing at a lightning pace. So Amazon, literally, like I'm reading here, they have fueled my business and they fueled the economy. During the last year, she's noticed a dramatic shift. Relocation clients used to flood her desk looking for places in Seattle. Not anymore. And why is that? Well, you got knuckleheads in charge that are just hell-bent on pushing business, wealth. They're pushing, economic opportunity out, just out. They don't understand business. They don't understand economics, and they are hell-bent on destroying the area, and they're doing an amazing job. Up front, they are doing an amazing job of making this happen. Cuts at Amazon and Microsoft feed fears of big tech reset. This was November. It's happening. It's happening right now. So, and a bunch of that is because of AI. AI has come, to the forefront, and so many jobs will be eliminated from that. Or you will have a switch up of job positions and roles, and entire companies will disappear, and companies will ramp those up. But they will not, with all the craziness we've got going on in the Seattle market, let alone the Washington state market. You're not going to see new companies ramp up here in Seattle, other than the fact that you've still got a job pool here that is, probably only second to Silicon Valley in California of tech workers. But if you're starting a new business, would you be starting up in Seattle with what's coming down the pipe? No, you wouldn't. I don't think you would. I don't think the benefits outweigh oh my gosh, what's going to happen? You got an absolute nut job at the helm of Seattle as mayor. You've got somebody who has zero experience in basically anything, and yet she's running essentially a 41 department, multi-billion dollar economy. And that is not going to go well. She's already boycotted one of her own flagship companies, Starbucks. So Amazon's making cuts in Seattle. Microsoft is making cuts. Amazon has restarted the buildings in Bellevue because they're gonna hoist a whole bunch of employees from Seattle to Bellevue. Microsoft has such a massive presence here on the east side, and they're going strong too. But there's going to be a lot of hesitancy on even bringing people to the Bellevue market because we are located in the state. Seattle may not be quite ready yet to reboot the Turn Out the Lights billboard from 1971. That's when Boeing basically went under, when thousands of laid off Boeing workers left town. But the rising tide of tech sector layoffs that began in 2022 and hit a crescendo last week with Amazon's announcements of 14,000 layoffs, that was the October announcement, looks more and more like the end of an era. And you know what? Everything goes in runs, right? It goes in cycles. It goes up and down. It goes up and down. Washington State, Seattle has had an amazing run. We have had years upon years upon years of growth, and we have just taken that for granted. Well, you get a bunch of, numbnuts in the helm that are spending too much money, and you got to layer taxes like there's no tomorrow. And then specifically, when you've got a socialist running Seattle, just like Mamdani in New York City, how's that gonna work out? I'll give you a hint. It ain't. It's not. It's just not. It's not going to work out for anybody. because socialism has never worked out. It does not work. What it does is it kills business. It kills the economy. It kills growth. It kills the ability for businesses to move forward. They get bogged down in bureaucracy. They get bogged down in debt. They get bogged down in the inability to turn a profit. Profit is what socialists hate because it should be the warmth of the collective good instead of rugged individualism, which is, capitalism. The warmth of the collective good. That's everybody huddling together because they're also but poor after having socialists run their economy. That's what that is. Oh, guys, we got to huddle together because, we can't afford a new coat and we certainly can't afford a blanket. So let's all huddle together because we're all real cold. First public hearing on Washington's statewide proposal to tax high salaries. That's the first step in the state income tax. Washington State doesn't have one. Got a really high sales tax. We got no income tax. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of a state income tax. So now you've got that out there on top of the massive amount of new taxes that's already here. You've got Governor Ferguson announces support for Millionaire's tax. See what I'm saying? This is all going in the wrong direction. Tech is already doing layoffs. This is that perfect storm where things align and meet, and then you're left with, wow, good heavens, that didn't work out. Well, it did. It's going to work out the way it's meant to. Seattle will have a reset. Seattle is in the midst of having a reset. Now, locally, you're going to see some things shift, but they've already shifted. Employees not in their offices in Seattle. They're here in Bellevue. And next step is to send them to Kansas or wherever, anywhere away from Washington State, because when you get, ridiculous stuff like this, tax millionaires, what do the millionaires do? What do the people who are running the big companies do? They do this to Seattle. They do this to Washington State. They do that to California. They do it to Chicago. They're doing it to Illinois. They're doing it to New York. They're doing it to New York City. They leave. And they go somewhere where there's less restrictions. They go somewhere where there is, pro support for businesses. This isn't that hard to figure out. It's just that you got a whole bunch of people in the big blue libtard states that are basically mentally handicapped because they think that this is going to work, and it's not. All it's going to do is create massive ramifications for those that can least afford to live in the Puget Sound region. You're going to see mass migration. You're going to see some heavy migration out of Washington State because people won't be able to afford here. They will not be able to afford here because the wealthy people will leave. We've already seen that as a pattern. We are literally seeing that as we speak. And then who's left? You got the middle class and you got the lower class. And you've got all kinds of taxes that they're going to have to take care of. Where's that going to come from? Their income. What's that look like? Does it look better than it is now? No. So how far will Seattle dive? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. This is one of those poster child, cases for, let's see, what would happen if you had an economic downturn, a tech downturn, and you threw a bunch of socialism in there? How do you think that'd go? We're going to find out, and I'm going to podcast every little step along the way. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining. Bye for now.